Here we take a look at the nested class view holder and the nested class saved recordings adapter, which we use to populate the list view in the saved recordings subclass of list activity. Now, before we get into this code in detail, let's go back to the onCreate method for a moment and see where we set up the saved recordings adapter. You can see that we're creating a new saved recordings adapter for this context, and the second argument to our constructor is an array list of strings that is populated with the arrays.asList call, which is going to create a list view of an array, and the array that it's creating a list view of is the result of this highlighted expression. Files directory. So that comes back as an array of strings. We then create a list view of that array and use it to populate an array list. That array list is passed to the constructor for the saved recordings adapter. So with that in mind, let's go back down here to our view holder pattern implementation. The view holders in this app are going to consist of a text view, an image view, and an image view that represent the name of the file for a given recording, and then an email button and a delete button, at least that's what I've called them even though they're image views, that allow the user for a particular recording in the list view to either email that recording to somebody or to delete that recording. Now, our saved recordings adapter extends array adapter of string in this case. So remember, array adapter allows you to use an array to populate a list view. You can see that we have two instance variables here, a list of strings called items, those are the things that will be displayed in the list view, and a layout inflator that we'll be using to inflate the custom list view items if we don't have a reusable one that we can take advantage of. And remember that the getView method is going to be called to get the next view that needs to be displayed in the list view as the user scrolls through it. Now, in order to do that, as we've shown in previous examples, we're going to create our own view holder local variable, and we're going to check the argument convertView to see if it's equal to null. If it's null, remember what this means is that we need to create the GUI for a list view item. If it's non-null, we can reuse the GUI from a previous one that has scrolled off the screen. So if we have to create it from scratch, we will inflate it from our saved recordings row.xml file. We will then create a view holder to maintain references to the different GUI controls that are displayed in that list item. And you can see here that we're assigning to each of the variables in the view holder object the reference to the corresponding control. And then recall what we do for the list item is set the view holder as the tag on that list item, and then if in fact this list item gets reused in the future, we can get that tag to make use of those existing GUI controls. So again, if convertView is null, we create the view from scratch. Otherwise, we simply get the tag from the reusable view, convert it to a view holder, and assign that to our view holder local variable. Now, after doing that, down at line 148, we get the item at the specified position. This is the one that's going to be displayed in the current list view item. We set the name text views text based on that string item. And then at lines 152 through 155, we configure the email button and delete button, setting the item as the tag on each of those buttons, and also setting the on-click listeners for each of those buttons to the email button listener and delete button listener, respectively. And again, I'm referring to these items as buttons because I'm using them like buttons on the screen, but they are actually what we call clickable image views.